All righty, friends, welcome back to the Blessed Family Podcast. Man, it's 2025. I can remember when we were looking forward to the year 2000. It was a quarter century ago. I think I'm getting old. It's crazy how time flies. I can remember the year 1985. I was in first grade. Movies came out that I just won't mention. They aren't horrible, but trying to run a conservative podcast here. I remember watching those films. And the year 2025, 40 years away, is as far as 2065 is from right now. Life is truly a vapor. It flies by. And that, my friends, is why we want to endeavor to drink life to the lees, to borrow from Tennyson. That's why we want to get this stuff as right as possible by the grace of God. We want to endeavor to be the families that God wants us to be. And friends, God is for you. God fights for you. He wants to see us, His church, succeed. His elect, His chosen, He wants us to succeed. He has given us precious covenant promises with these children. And if you're anything like me, this is who you are. You're someone who wants to do this well, and yet you have fallen short, and you mess up all the time. But you know what? By the grace of God, things might turn out okay. And man, I think where I was, which I was raised in a great household, but man, where I was at a teenager was not where I'd want my kids to be. And if God can take me, and maybe you have a similar story, if God can take us and do what He's done in us by His grace, then He can do anything with our children. So I just want to encourage you. All right, friends, a quick announcement. This November, we have our family camp. We would love to see you there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a few hundred people out, like-minded, mainly homeschool, some private schoolers also. We love throwing in the private schoolers. And it's going to be in November in East Texas. You can go to jareddodd.com, click on our tab, which is 2025 Family Camp. You can register today. You can call the Salmon Lake Park and reserve either a camping spot or a cabin, tent, however you want to do it. It's going to be, you can bring a yurt. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope to see you there. All right, friends, I'm going to jump into this because I want to honor your time, and this might fill all of our 20 minutes. This is teaching children how to play. Teaching children how to play. Okay, why is this teaching important? Simply put, because children play every day of their childhoods. It's going to happen. God made them this way. It's in their DNA, and it's beautiful. And listen carefully, it isn't just a time gap. God didn't give our kids an imagination and a desire to play and create and build and explore and play house and play with dolls. He didn't do that just so we would have time to surf YouTube shorts. Boo, don't do it. Just say no to YouTube shorts and say yes to the rest of your life. But kids playing, it's not meaningless. It's actually really important, and it's really integral to the rest of life. It's very, very strategic, and we need to think like God does in that. All right, and so many parents miss this amazing opportunity to use this God-given habit for the positive development of their children. You see, God gave children a desire to play because He made them in their image, and playing is the way they live. Playing gets them warmed up for life. And that's really the main principle. If you're taking notes, how you play is how you live. People who play selfishly grow up to live selfishly. People who play with respect and kindness grow up to be respectful and kind. Playing is, in a way, practicing real life. It's opportunities for trial runs at a lot of things. Why do kids play, pretend like they have families? Why do they pretend like they have vocations? Why do they pretend like they're having school, right? Because all those things are coming up. Is your child going to be a team player? Will they know how to work out conflict? Will they know how to die to self? Will they know how to treat others? All of these can be taught and should be taught in how they play. All right, let's talk age. When my 2-year-old is playing, I don't implement this as much as I would with a 7-year-old. I instead try to implement it. Okay, so if a 2-year-old is playing with a 5-year-old, the main training, I'm going to train the 2-year-old in some things, but it's really an opportunity for that 5-year-old. So the first point I want to give you is the timing and depth is different with each child simply for the reason that each child is different and their ages are different. Okay, so I want to give you 10 practical tips. That's why I want to get into this, because I've got 10 tips. That's kind of a lot, but 10 practical tips and advice on how this works. This principle, once again, is very simple. You train your child to play the same way you want to live. So that's the overarching principle. If you wouldn't be okay with them living the way they're playing, then they're playing wrong. Let me give you some examples. Number one, you need to play according to biblical morality. For instance, if your kids are playing a game called Serial Killer, where all of them are victims and there's one person going around and serial killing them, no, we don't do that. Instead, play cowboys and Indians, right? You have the cow, which this is not politically correct. That's why I love it. You have the cowboys, protecting the women and children. And you also have the Indians protecting their women and children, and maybe they make peace treaties. Maybe they invade. If they do, they're going to defend themselves. Well, that's too extreme of an example. I don't want to say that. But you need to play moral, okay? So murdering is wrong. Now, killing can be appropriate in just wars. Capital punishment, which that'd be kind of a weird game, catching criminals and executing them. I'm not suggesting that at all. But killing in self-defense. One of our kids' favorite games is battle reenactments, and they'll go out and they'll rehearse it. It'll be, let's say, the Mexicans versus the Texans at the Alamo, or it's World War II, whatever it is, and they will rehearse it, and then they come in and they say, okay, Mom, Dad, we're ready, and we'll go out. Hey, can you close that? Thanks, buddy, I love you. And they will go out and we'll come out and watch them. And people die, but it's all historical reenactments. So play moral. That's principle one. Number two, let's use that golden rule, do unto others what you would have them do unto you. Children should memorize that verse because of playing. So if they're playing with magnet blocks, for instance, and they each have built a house, the other person for no reason goes and breaks the other person's house, well, you punish them and you say, hey, Jesus told us to do unto others what you would have them do unto you. Do you want your brother to break your house? Well, no, I don't. Okay, then you don't break their house. And it gets them thinking like Christians. Number three, sportsmanship. This means winning and losing and saying good game. I had much more practice with this because I was raised in sports. We don't really do organized sports. We definitely play sports as families and friends, but we don't do organized sports. But it's, at the end of a game, board game, pretend game, sports game, saying, hey, good game. Being okay with losing. Abraham, my son, is 4 now. When he loses a game, he whines and he cries, and we point out, hey, look, your other brother lost, and he's shaking hands and saying good game. You need to be like him. That's what it means to be a man. Be a good sportsman. Okay, number 4, taking turns, sharing. When they both want the same toy, what do? Well, they shouldn't duke it out. It's not okay, survival of the fittest, fight it out. Whoever bleeds the least gets it. No, you say, okay, listen, you guys both want to play with this toy. And this is something I've trained my kids in. When you both want to play with a toy, both of you need to say, let's take turns. And whoever gets the first turn gets a shorter turn. Maybe they have it for 10 minutes, and then it's the next person's turn. They get it for 20 minutes. It's so good because it teaches deferred, fulfillment. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. But, it's like, okay, man, I really want to play with it now, but I'd rather play with it longer. And they work it out. They share. That is very mature. It's very Christian. It's a good idea. Adults need to know how to do that. So we teach it as our children play. So far we've got play moral, do unto others what you'd have them do unto you, sportsmanship, taking turns. Number 5 is dying to self. This is a theme that needs to be in your family continually. In Luke 9, ballpark of 21 or 23, Christ says, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. If whoever wants to save his life will lose it, right? Those who lose it, what good is it if you gain the whole world and yet forfeit your soul? So, I'm always telling my kids, hey, if you want to have a great life, you must die to self. So let's say 2 girls are playing pretend with dolls. One girl wants to drink tea. The other wants to pretend that the dolls are playing a game. Well, who gets their way? Well, you die to self. You say, okay, well, let's do it. Let's do it your way. But then also, you also want to teach your kids as dying to self that they aren't pushovers. So, if it's like, hey, we've done it your way 3 times. You now need to yield, and we need to do it my way. Let's do this now for a change. Okay, so teaching them to die to self and yet not to be a pushover. Number 6, how boys treat girls. I don't want my boys treating girls like buddies. I want my boys, I don't want my boys tackling girls in football. I don't want my boys hitting girls the way they might hit a boy, or wrestling them to the ground, slapping them on the back. I want them to talk with girls and treat them with respect and to show deference. I want them to treat girls special. So that needs to be reflected in the way you play. Now, I'm not saying girls can't play games which would be more like boy games, but still the boys need to treat the girls different. And man, in this age of gender nonsense and confusion, this is really, really important. And you have an opportunity, anytime your boys are playing with girls or girls are playing with boys, you have an opportunity to instill those principles in your children. It's a really good idea. Okay, so how boys treat girls and vice versa. Number 7, respecting others. How do our children play with someone else's toys? When we go over to a friend's house, right, and we don't have our kids go, personally, this is just us. We're very different like this in most homeschool families, but our kids don't go over to other friends' houses and just hang out and play. We go over as families. We hang out as families. Now, there are exceptions. My daughter Ivy is right now with her friends in South Dakota. Well, we couldn't just go over there and play, so we drove her up there. She's flying back, and she's working on the farm for 3 weeks. But anyhow, point being, when younger children are at people's houses, how do they respect their toys? Do they respect other people's property? Do they understand that there are manners when you're at? There's a great board book by Richard Scarry called The Polite Elephant. And in there it talks about how the polite elephant knows that there are some rooms for sitting, some rooms for playing. He always knows to greet people. He always knows to thank them afterwards, say thank you for letting me come over and play. I had a great time. Okay, so this is about being responsible with other people's stuff and being well-mannered. Okay, 9, honesty. Do they tell the truth? Man, if you say, I really want to give my children an opportunity to tell the truth and be honest, just let them play. Because something's going to happen. They're going to break the magnet house. They're going to run back and say, well, he broke no, she did this. And it's time to teach them to tell the truth. It's time to teach them to follow rules. The greatest punishment in my home is given for dishonesty. If you hit someone, there's a punishment. If you disobey, there's a punishment. If you disrespect, there's a punishment. But the biggest punishment that they fear the most is lying. Because the 2 worst kinds of people in the world are liars and thieves. So, number 9, honesty. We want them to play honest. We want them to follow rules. If they're playing games, we don't want them to cheat. Cheaters are liars. And they need to know that's a big deal. They need to know that the Bible says that all liars are placed in the fiery furnace. Getting my stories confused, are placed in the lake of fire. I think that's Revelation 20. It's either 21:8 or 22. No, I'm pretty sure it's 21:8. So you want them to be honest. And lastly, number 10, you want them to be hospitable. You want them to learn hospitality. When they have friends over, do they put them first? Or do they say, hey, come here, I want to show you my toy, now sit there and watch me play with it? And, this is just, one of the ways we teach our children, and we need to be patient with it. Fathers, the one rule the New Testament says thou shalt not with fathers is not embittering or being too harsh with our children. So we need to be patient, but we sit down with them and say, hey, question. Kids are great at pretending. Let's pretend that you're going over to your friend's house. He has a brand new toy. Would you want to sit there and watch him play it, or would you want to play with it? Well, it's obvious. Well, that's how you need to treat others. The way you want to be treated, going back to the golden rule, you need to treat others. So do they put guests first? Do they find joy in revolving the play around their guest? And that's what hospitality is all about. Hospitality is about us receiving fulfillment and joy in seeing other people's needs met and putting them first. That's the way God is, and that's the way we need to be. And so therefore it brings great joy. Okay, so there's the 10 tips. Let me give some closing thoughts here. So the process in this is to share with your children these principles, this vision. You say to them, look, God is calling you to act a certain way. He's calling you to play together. Now you need to have, again, great patience. But this is you you teach them what's happening. You teach them this lesson. You say, listen, how you play is how you live. One day you guys are going to be grown-ups. You're going to be married. You're going to have kids. You're going to have possessions. You're going to have friends. You need to know how to treat them. Well, guess how you learn, kids? You learn in the way you play. So you sell them this vision. You instill this vision within them, and then you teach them the character. You teach them these 10 things. Hey, you need to share. You need to be kind. You need to die to self. You need to respect. You need to show honor for gender. You need to take turns. You need to be hospitable. So this isn't some sleight of hand that you have to do without your kids knowing it. No, you show them. You tell them, hey, kids, God is calling you to be men and women that look like this. And you know what? One of the main ways you do that is by playing. Don't you love to play? Well, sweet. If you play well, then you'll be a great person. Vision and character. So, depending on the age, the order could go either way. First the character, then the vision, vice versa. At a young age, you teach them how to act. They may be too young to understand the vision, but in the end, you want to share it with them. Vision for adulthood and seeing that childhood determines how they will become. Man, I hope this fires you up. It fires me up. It's powerful. I love how God made things. We don't have to always do everything in a classroom. We don't have to always do everything on a whiteboard. As kids play, they can become disciples of Christ. As kids play, they can be mature, responsible people. So they are doing that every day. Mom and dad, they're doing it. You don't have to make them play. Now it's just time to train them, give them the vision, set them up for success, and you will succeed. All right, guys, as always, love you guys so much. We are here for you. If you have any questions, any comments, any prayer requests, we are full-time missionaries for God's people, so you can reach out to us at doddclan7@gmail.com. If you have any requests for this podcast, please shoot us an email. We've been getting some of those. They're very helpful. Love you. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.